Hey everyone, welcome to Bliss Spiritual Co-op's podcast. I'm Richie Garzon Board, President of Bliss, and today we're interviewing Bernie Beasley. He is the founder of Insight Health Scan. His passion and purpose is to help people understand their body and what really produces health versus sickness and disease. He believes that whatever your current health status, there should be hope and a clear path to significant improvement. Insight Health Scan provides education and solutions to give that hope. I'm looking forward to talking to him, and let's go. Bernie, I'm glad to have you on the podcast. I can't wait to learn more about what you're doing. Yeah, why don't you just tell us your story, kind of how you got to where you are?
Very good. I started out, it was actually a Bible study on emotional and physical healing. And in that process, I learned that especially the emotional effects on the body, everybody knows that emotional baggage can lead to health issues. And as it turns out, every emotion has a very specific frequency. So once I learned that, I knew there had to be technology that would allow us to measure frequencies in the body. It's a very simple process. But what I didn't realize when I first started was the fact that technology is changing at an incredible rate. I was an engineer years ago, and a typical computer chip had about 4,000 transistors. Okay. Today, Rich, that number is 6 trillion.
Trillion?
So
okay.
6 trillion.
Okay. Yeah.
So when you think about just what has to happen technology-wise for that to be the case, then in the field of medical technology, because of computing power, actually medical knowledge is doubling every 2 months.
Wow.
So if we're seeing a doctor that graduated 20 years ago, if he's not keeping up, chances are there are things out there. And that was really the motivation for me to do the AO scanning. It's just the advance of technology that allows us to measure thousands of things in the body with frequency. We know what it should be, so we can literally, like an MRI, we can just ping it and see if it's at that healthy frequency. And if not, we can actually see what's interfering and correct it. So technology has just gone a long way. There's a new book out by Tony Robbins called Life Force. And
I'm reading that book right now. It's funny that you bring it up. Yes, it's an incredible book.
Just amazing what is happening that will literally change the face of medicine as we know it today in the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, because it's talking about regenerative medicine specifically, which I didn't even really understand was a field before I started reading this book. And I mean, the stem cells are just the beginning. It's amazing what they're doing.
Yeah, stem cells are what create the body, and it should be there to repair it, but we've provided way too many interferences for that to be really an efficient process.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So, well, tell us about why you founded Insight Health Scan. Kind of what is the company in general? What is its purpose?
Okay, it's all about health scanning. So what has really been the game changer that led me to Life Force has been the fact that every day our body makes over 300 billion new cells. And in that process, we've learned that the blueprint for a cell is in the DNA. So that's pretty straightforward. But in making the new cell, that depends on us copying the blueprint correctly.
Oh, yes. I just recently read about that from, I forget what his name is, but he's trying to fight the disease of aging in general. It was like, why we age and why we don't have to is the title of this book.
Yes. And then that begins to beg the question, what causes the blueprint not to copy correctly? And there's a field of science called epigenetics.
Yes.
And epigenetics says, hey, it's not the gene that determines the outcome, it's the atmosphere around the gene. So what we have learned is emotional baggage creates a frequency atmosphere that can interfere with copying that blueprint correctly. And then there are chemical atmospheres, pathogen, virus, bacteria, even with COVID. We hear the term long COVID.
Yes.
Long COVID just says that the virus has invaded the cell, and when it gets ready to replicate, it makes a cell, maybe a lung cell, that's not as efficient as the one it was intended to replace. So now we have ongoing issues as a result of COVID. So if emotional frequency atmospheres can affect that, and pathogens and toxins, then the AO scanner is here to look at those atmospheres. We actually record the voice for 10 seconds, and then it runs a frequency scan and will tell you every stored emotion that you have that's affecting your health.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a lot of people will turn around and say, I didn't want to know that.
Right. You have to be ready for that information. That's
yeah.
true.
So some interesting things come out in that. But then what the technology does is, because emotions are just frequency in our energy field, it sends noise canceling headphone technology as nothing but just putting the sound in and then literally putting a frequency in 180 degrees out of phase.
Oh, yeah.
And it takes it out of the energy field and therefore cannot interfere with health or happiness. So just using technology that, as we said, has advanced considerably. And then in the field of pathogens, all unique things have a unique frequency.
Absolutely. I remember that from physics class in college.
Yes. Yeah. So if I want to find out if I have a strep bacteria, the scanner will literally scan. It's easy to know if it's in the body because we're just checking for frequency.
Oh, and it recognizes the frequency of that bacteria?
Yes.
What? I mean, that seems like the future of all health. That's almost, it's almost unbelievable.
There are probably 500 bacteria, fungus, molds, parasites, and viruses. And it's fascinating. We could be doing COVID, but it would just literally draw so much attention that it is not worth doing, but it's that simple to check.
Yes. Okay.
So what do we do when we find it? There was a Dr. Royal Rife years ago that learned he could find all the pathogens by frequency. But what he then learned is, like noise canceling headphones, if you put that frequency back in at a certain 180 degrees out of phase at a I think on the 11th harmonic, it'll actually take out the pathogen.
And you just need to hear this and it has this effect? It's all that. Oh, that's interesting. It's fascinating. Okay. So in essence, the scanner is just all about detecting the health condition of thousands of parts. We do, for example, a heart scan. And the heart has probably 100, 150 different parts. And we check each part to see if it's at healthy frequency. So for example, if the aorta valve is not at a healthy place, but everything else is okay, the scan will show that. And then it will go in and look for interferences and take out things that are interfering with that being not at a healthy place. How long have you been using this technology?
4 years.
4 years. Can you give us any kind of case studies without being too specific?
I can only talk about my situation. So,
all right. That's
about good. 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. And they ended up removing the prostate, which is pretty standard procedure once it gets to a certain level.
Yeah.
But 2 years later, on a routine checkup, the PSA, the measure of cancer there, had gone from 0 to 0.3. The urologist said, once it goes up, it'll double every 6 months until you go on hormone therapy for the rest of your life. And for this particular one, that's male menopause.
Oh, God.
So about the time that happened was when I got the scanner, and I started scanning the prostate every day, even though it's not there, the energy field for it is there.
Oh, that's fascinating.
So at the end of 6 months, the PSA was still 0.3.
Yes.
6 months later, it was still 0.3. 4 years later, it is still 0.3. So the urologist asked me, he said, what are you doing that I don't know about? And my wife always goes with me on that appointment. She said, I'm not sure you want to know. So gave him the information about the AO scanner and the fact that it goes in and looks at the energy field and gets rid of interferences. But there's nothing else, Rich, that I can point to. And will that fix everybody's prostate problem? No, there are so many causes of things that the AO scanner is marvelous in what it does, but it's not God. It doesn't know everything. Of course.
I mean, it's an amazing diagnostic tool by itself. I mean, even if it does a small percentage of what you're talking about, it's incredible.
Yes.
All right. So you're having a workshop soon. Can you tell us what is someone going to learn in the workshop? What is it going to be about?
Okay. We do go back and look at the fact the body makes these new cells every day and help people begin to understand what the root cause. Cancer, if you went and asked your doctor, if I'm making that many new cells every day and the blueprint doesn't copy right, what happens? And I've done this with 3 doctors now, and all 3 immediately, with no other input, say, where do you think cancer comes from?
Yeah.
So if it didn't do anything but explain that, that would help us understand that if we can stop that blueprint or slow it down or have an effect on it, it would be a positive thing.
Absolutely.
The other, you'd say, could it cause Alzheimer's? Well, every time the brain gets ready to make a new cell, if that cell makes plaque instead of a brain cell, it's not hard to understand how that process could lead to Alzheimer's.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So we'll review that at the class, and then we'll talk again about how the scanner specifically helps address that issue by dealing with emotional baggage, pathogens, toxins, and then we'll actually scan each individual who comes and give them all that information. Everything we scan actually is sent by email and a report to them.
Oh, awesome.
So it's, yes, easy to go back and look at what we did.
So because you're doing this for Bliss, which is, thank you very much, it's only $40. Is there some money savings compared to if they just scheduled a normal appointment with you?
Well, obviously, yes, the $40 is much less than a trip to see me in the office. But one reason I would encourage people to come is the technology that I purchased 4 years ago was $30,000. And
wow.
One of the things I didn't do is tell my wife that I had bought it. So we'll just say I was in the doghouse without lights and air conditioning for months.
I can imagine that. Yeah.
Yes, but the technology, because of all the things we've talked about, has now moved to a mobile app. So everything that we do at Bliss will be through the mobile app, which somebody can purchase for a monthly fee. We won't talk about specifically what it is.
Okay, yeah.
For the technology now, you don't have to come see me. You can get the technology on your phone, computer, laptop, and run it yourself for your family. And one of the very interesting things is you can do it for your pets.
Oh, really? That would be fun.
Yes. It's interesting to see what emotions that pets are dealing with as probably a result of being around us.
I would like to know that. We have 3 cats. One is brand new. We got it a month ago, and one is my wife's cat that she's had for probably 15 years, and she's kind of near end of life. So that would be like really interesting.
Yes. And there's technology involved in that you can send healing frequencies to your pets.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Cool. Okay. Is there anything else you want to share?
I think that'll do it. Look forward to the next visit at Bliss.
Absolutely. Bernie, thanks for your time. I loved getting to know about the scanner, and I'm looking forward to coming visiting you myself.
Sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take it easy.